The lights inside the arena glowed like a galaxy of stars, sweeping across the audience as the final blind auditions of The Voice UK reached their emotional climax. Coaches sat with their backs turned to the stage, fingers resting near the famous red buttons, waiting for the next voice to either change everything or disappear into silence. The crowd buzzed with anticipation. Then the announcer spoke softly. Coming to the stage, Sophia Hart. A tall young woman stepped into the spotlight, wearing a long black velvet dress and silver boots. Her posture was calm, elegant, almost old-fashioned compared to the flashy confidence many younger contestants brought to the show. Her dark curls rested neatly on her shoulders, and her makeup was subtle. She looked poised, mature, experienced. And that was exactly what confused the coaches. As the camera flashed toward the panel, Will.i.am leaned toward fellow coach Tom Jones with raised eyebrows. "She sounds like somebody who's been doing this for 30 years already," he whispered before the music even began. Tom chuckled. "Maybe she has." The pianist played the first gentle notes, and suddenly, everything changed. Sophia began singing At Last by Etta James. Her voice didn't merely enter the room, it wrapped around it, warm, smoky, controlled. The kind of voice that sounded like heartbreak and wisdom mixed together under dim cafe lights at midnight. Every note carried emotional weight far beyond her years. Audience members froze instantly. One woman in the front row covered her mouth in shock. Will.i.am's eyes widened immediately. "No way," he muttered. The tone sounded timeless. Not young, not inexperienced. This was the voice of someone who had lived through pain, loss, love, and recovery. Or at least that's what everyone believed. As Sophia reached the chorus, Tom Jones slowly nodded with deep respect. He'd heard thousands of singers over decades in music. Very few had this kind of natural storytelling ability. Halfway through the performance, Tom slammed his button. The crowd erupted. Seconds later, Will.i.am hit his button too. Then came Jennifer Hudson. 3 chairs turned. Only Ollie Murs remained facing away, visibly panicking as the audience screamed for him to turn. "You're making a mistake, Ollie," Jennifer shouted playfully. Finally, during Sophia's final soaring note, Ollie smashed his button at the very last second. 4 chairs. The arena exploded into applause. By the time the song ended, Sophia stood softly smiling while the audience gave her a standing ovation. Some fans were already wiping tears from their eyes. Will.i.am stood up immediately. "Yo, what just happened?" he said, laughing in disbelief. Tom Jones pointed toward the stage dramatic. "That is a real singer." The crowd roared again. Sophia laughed nervously, clearly overwhelmed by the moment. Then came the question that changed the entire mood of the room. Will.i.am leaned forward. "So, how long you been singing professionally?" Sophia smiled. "I'm still in school." The coaches blinked. Ollie frowned in confusion. "University?" She shook her head. "6th form." The audience gasped. Jennifer Hudson's jaw dropped open. Wait, she shouted. "How old are you?" Sophia hesitated for a second before answering. "I'm 18. Absolute chaos. The crowd screamed louder than before. Ollie literally fell sideways in his chair. Tom Jones slapped his desk laughing. And Will.i.am? He looked completely stunned. "No," he yelled. "No way!" He stood up and walked in circles behind his chair while the audience laughed hysterically. "I thought you were at least 35, he said. "Your voice got taxes to pay." Even Sophia couldn't stop laughing. Jennifer Hudson pointed dramatically toward the stage. "That voice belongs in a smoky jazz club in New York in 1972. The audience applauded wildly. Will.i.am finally sat back down, still shaking his head in disbelief. "Okay," he said, pointing toward Sophia. "You just shocked all of us." And honestly, she had. Because moments like this are exactly why people love The Voice. Not because of flashy production, not because of celebrity coaches, but because every once in a while, someone walks on stage and completely destroys every expectation in the room. Sophia didn't look nervous. She didn't oversing. She didn't chase viral moments. She simply stood there and sang with honesty. And somehow that made it even more powerful. Tom Jones spoke first during the coach pitches. "You have something very rare," he told her. "Most singers spend years trying to sound believable. You already do. That cannot be taught." The audience applauded warmly. Then Jennifer Hudson leaned forward emotionally. "I felt every word you sang," she said. "You didn't perform the song. You lived inside it."
Sophia's eyes started watering slightly. Jennifer continued, "And at 18? Baby, that's scary." Will.i.am jumped in immediately. "Look, Sophia," he began, "I've worked with artists from all over the world. But what makes someone unforgettable isn't just vocals, it's identity." He pointed toward her confidently. "The second you started singing, I knew exactly who you were. That's superstar energy." The audience cheered. Then came Ollie Murs, still trying to recover from the age reveal. "I'm honestly embarrassed," he joked. "I thought you were somebody's mom who snuck onto the show." Everyone burst into laughter again, including Sophia. "But seriously," Ollie continued, "you have this old soul magic about you. It's beautiful." For a moment, Sophia simply stood there, taking it all in. 4 superstar coaches fighting for her, a standing ovation, millions of viewers watching at home, and she was only 18 years old. The cameras briefly cut backstage where Sophia's parents were crying uncontrollably. Her mother held her chest while whispering, "She did it!" Back on stage, host Emma Willis asked the obvious question, "Sophia, who are you choosing?" The audience went silent. She looked at each coach carefully. Tom Jones smiled kindly. Jennifer Hudson held her hands together hopefully. Ollie grinned nervously, and Will.i.am stared intensely like he already knew the answer. Finally, Sophia spoke. "When I was younger," she said softly, "I used to watch videos of one coach over and over because he always believed artists should be different instead of perfect." Will.i.am's face changed instantly. "And I think that's exactly the kind of artist I want to become." The audience erupted. "So I'm choosing," she pointed across the panel, "Will.i.am." The arena exploded with cheers. Will.i.am jumped up shouting triumphantly while the other coaches groaned dramatically. "Yes, let's go!" He ran onto the stage and hugged Sophia tightly while confetti cannons burst lightly around the set. Tom Jones clapped proudly. "That's a good choice," he admitted. Jennifer Hudson smiled warmly. "You better take care of her." Will nodded seriously. "Oh, trust me, she's special." And from that moment on, viewers at home became obsessed with Sophia Hart. Clips of her audition spread everywhere online within hours. Comments flooded social media. "How is she only 18? She sounds like an old jazz legend. That voice gave me chills." Will.i.am's reaction was priceless. Some fans even compared her tone to legendary artists like Amy Winehouse and Adele because of the emotional maturity hidden inside her voice. But the most fascinating part wasn't just the surprise. It was the mystery. How could someone so young sound so experienced? During rehearsal footage later shown on the program, Sophia finally explained. "I grew up listening to older music," she said. "My grandparents raised me while my parents worked long hours. So I listened to Etta James, Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra. That became my world." Suddenly, everything made sense. She hadn't copied modern trends. She'd absorbed decades of timeless music, and it shaped her into something unique. Will.i.am immediately understood the value in that. During mentoring sessions, he encouraged Sophia not to lose her identity trying to impress people. "Don't chase what's popular," he told her. "People remember originality." That advice changed everything. Week after week, Sophia kept delivering unforgettable performances. While other contestants relied on huge vocal tricks and dramatic runs, Sophia focused on emotion and storytelling, and audiences connected deeply with it. One week she performed Feeling Good. Another week she sang a stripped-down version of Back to Black. Every performance felt cinematic. Even the judges seemed emotionally affected every time she stepped onto the stage. At one point, Jennifer Hudson admitted, "I still can't believe that voice comes out of an 18-year-old. Neither could the audience." But beyond the incredible vocals, fans also fell in love with Sophia's personality. Offstage, she was humble, awkward, and surprisingly funny. She laughed at memes about people mistaking her for being older, and even joked during interviews, "I've been offered wine at restaurants since I was 15. Viewers adored her authenticity. And perhaps that's what made her story resonate so deeply. In a world obsessed with looking younger, acting younger, and chasing trends, Sophia embraced timelessness. She wasn't trying to sound like everyone else. She sounded like herself. That authenticity became her superpower. By the semifinal round, many viewers believed she could actually win the entire competition. And during one emotional backstage moment, Will.i.am spoke honestly about the first impression he had of her. "When I heard your voice," he admitted, "I pictured someone much older because your tone carried wisdom." He smiled. "But then I realized something. Wisdom doesn't always come from age. Sometimes it comes from soul." That line instantly went viral online. Fans called it one of the most beautiful mentor moments in the show's history. And Sophia cried hearing it, because deep down, she'd spent years feeling different from people her own age. While friends listened to trendy pop songs, she spent nights studying jazz phrasing in old vinyl records. Sometimes she wondered if there was even a place for someone like her in modern music. Then The Voice happened, and suddenly millions of people understood her. That's the magic of shows like this. Sometimes they don't just discover singers, they reveal people to themselves. By the final round, Sophia had transformed from an unknown teenager into one of the most talked about contestants of the season. And it all began with one unforgettable moment. Will.i.am hearing her voice, assuming she was decades older, then discovering she was only 18 years old. A twist nobody saw coming. But maybe that's why the audition became legendary, because it reminded everyone watching that talent doesn't always arrive in the package people expect. Sometimes greatness walks quietly onto a stage wearing silver boots and a velvet dress. Sometimes wisdom sings through a teenager's voice.